My name is Monica Ulrich. I am a fifth year at Notre Dame, studying mechanical engineering and theology, originally from Clinton, New Jersey, and I will be earning a master's in education through the Alliance for Catholic Education here at Notre Dame next year. So since I've been little, engineering has been in my mind. Both my parents are engineers. My mom was a chemical engineer, my dad a civil engineer, and then my brother actually became a chemical engineer. So math and science were just a big part of my life in general. Always been kind of naturally good at those. And then on the weekends, my weekends were just full of just doing home improvement projects with my dad, so I just always loved tools and working with my hands and solving problems. So it just seemed like the natural thing to do for as long as I can remember. So when the college decision came along, that's just where I went, especially because even if I didn't necessarily end up working in engineering, which I may not, engineering is a good place to jump off from into any kind of career. So I'm a mechanical engineering major, so I didn't want to do chemical or electrical because I didn't really like chemistry that much, and electrical, it seems kind of magical to me. Can't really picture it completely. So it was kind of between civil and mechanical. I could see myself working construction as a superintendent or something, but I didn't want to really set myself on that trajectory necessarily. So mechanical just seemed like it could encompass a lot more options just in case my ideas changed over the 4 years. So mechanical is where I went. So in my sophomore year, I decided to pick up the second degree in theology. And I knew about it's actually through the Riley dual degree program here at Notre Dame. So you can choose a discipline in engineering and choose a discipline in arts and letters. So, and my brother had actually already graduated here with chemical engineering and theology in the same program. So that brought the thoughts to my mind. And with faith being so important to me and just being interested in really like exploring all the options here at Notre Dame and having such an amazing theology department with like just world-renowned professors, it was just a natural flow. And plus I get 5 years at Notre Dame, which is not a negative at all. So after sophomore year, I had my first internship with GE Aviation as a quality engineer, which was a really fun time. I worked in kind of like their shop for repairing a lot of the big engines. So I got to be walking around the floor, talking to all the guys, and one of my main roles was to actually learn how to use some of the devices they had on the floor and then create instructions on how to use them, and then teach them how to use them. Which was really, really fun, but also I was like, I don't know if this is why I'm doing engineering. But I mean, now it actually makes a lot of sense that I really enjoyed the teaching because doing ACE next year, Alliance for Catholic Education. So that was my first experience in internship. And then after that, I moved on to doing a construction internship with Turner Construction. And I absolutely loved it. Just being on my feet all day, interacting with a lot of people all the time, solving problems all the time, and just learning so much every day. There's just so much new terminology, just all kinds of things to learn, which was really, really fun and exciting. So I could see myself doing that forever after that internship. But I decided, just in case, I should try out another type of internship because design has always been in the back of my mind. Like I've always found CAD really fun to work on. So I told them, I was like, I'm really interested in this, but I think I want to try something else just to make sure this is for me. So after my 4th year, I went to Stanley Black & Decker and did a design internship there. And I loved the people, I loved the culture there, but I definitely need to be working with people on a more regular basis. So sitting at the desk and working on CAD was fun, but not quite as fulfilling for me as working with people all the time. So if I end up going into engineering long term, it will probably be in construction or something in that type of field. So through the Riley dual degree program, it's actually, so since you're getting 2 degrees with engineering and arts and letters, you kind of need the 5 years to be able to complete all the requirements for both colleges. So it's a 5-year program, finishing 2 degrees. Yeah, so I'm what you would call a cradle Catholic, I'd say. Grew up, or was born into a very faithful Catholic family. Went to Mass every Sunday, said our prayers at meals and before bed. So I just have, I mean, even as a kid, I loved going to Mass and I loved praying, and my mom has told us that we used to ask to like sing hymns at night, like just really like very Catholic family, just kind of part of my life. But it wasn't until probably right around 8th grade, high school, when it really started to become my own, and started to really like try and mature it a bit beyond just the faith that was given to me. So in high school, I actually attended youth group, and a lot of my grade school friends also did. So that was just another, like, it was not only a good time to explore my faith in a deeper sense, but also just a nice social thing to do on Sundays, which kept me going. In some ways, I feel like I wasn't challenged quite enough in youth group, so my faith deepened a bit, and my prayer life I continued, but it was really at Notre Dame, especially through my theology major and all the friends I've made, that I've really started to dive deep into my faith. And I mean, it's a lifelong journey, so there's a long way to go, but Notre Dame has been a major blessing in my faith life, especially in terms of discernment and where I'm called in terms of career and vocationally, and then also just finding what my heart's desire is and where I'll find like the meaning in my life and what God is calling me to. Yeah, so my faith has definitely played a role in my life as an engineering student, probably mostly in a tangential way, just because I think faith should be a part of your life. So in my internships, for example, I kind of live my faith as much as I can, so I think people recognize and know that I am a Christian, a Catholic. So actually at my internships, a lot of times I'd have discussions about faith because people are curious and seeking, and I think I was an easy way to just kind of learn. So that was actually really cool, and I'm glad people felt comfortable asking me about faith and bringing it up in the office. Studying engineering, it didn't necessarily come up in class, although it would sometimes since it is a Catholic university here. But mostly just in my prayer and discernment and trying to decide and figure out where I'm called in life. It definitely plays a role in choosing that. Specifically my Stanley Black & Decker one. I think all the interns kind of work together and we're in the same room for most of the day. So my faith would actually come up in conversation, and we'd talk about their questions about faith, and which was really interesting because you don't normally talk about religion and faith in a work environment, especially in such a secular world, right? So that was a really cool experience, and I mean, I'm glad that they felt comfortable asking me about faith, and I think it came from just me being so open about being a practicing Catholic, and I mean, I would go to Mass every morning, and they mostly knew that, and I think faith should come into every aspect of your life and inform everything you do. Yeah, it was challenging at times. I mean, I had to keep reminding myself, I think, that their questions were not accusatory questions, but sometimes I'd become defensive and try and like defend the faith. Whereas, I mean, I had to come about it in a different way. I just had to remind myself that they're just seeking, and so many people just are looking for meaning and right, and like just are wondering what this faith is. So coming at it not in a defensive way and trying to remember they're probably just wondering, and they're not trying to accuse me of anything or put the church down or anything. And instead just talking about it and talking about the beauty I find in it and what I know, and being okay saying, I don't actually know the answer to that, but here's what I kind of know, and I mean, I can look into it more, and I mean, we can think about it together. What do you think? Yeah, it's come in class in my sophomore mechanics classes. So we have statics first semester, dynamics second semester with the same professor, Professor Seelinger. And he would randomly have these stool time moments where he'd just like talk about life. He'd just sit on his stool. We wouldn't do any engineering that day, and he'd give a little like lecture or speech on just living life, and those are often a little bit faith-based, not necessarily directly naming faith, but had like a discernment type of swing to them in some ways. Engineering has definitely played a role in my faith life. I mean, engineering is about learning about how the world works, and just seeing just the wonder and awe that comes from learning about that design, and how God really put this beautiful, complicated design into everything, down to like blades of grass, and like down to like the cells and electrons, and it's just like, and then contemplating that brings you back to like, I mean, I'm a person with intelligence, and I can think and I can reason, and it's just amazing how if he can put so much energy or detail into a blade of grass, how much more does he put into humans, and how much more does he love us? It's just almost an overwhelming thought in some ways. So faith informs my life, and it's important to me, and that I live out my faith in every moment and every aspect of my life. So in that way, it for sure comes into my classes and my work, and brings meaning to why I'm working so hard, and the importance of what I do. But most importantly, I think in my day-to-day, I try and pray and break out those moments of actual contemplation of God, and prayer and Mass, and going to the sacraments and things like that. So I will be earning a master's in education, here again at the University of Notre Dame through the Alliance for Catholic Education. It's a 2-year program where I'll teach during the 2 school years, and I'll particularly will be teaching math and religion to high school students down in Pensacola, Florida. And then during the 2 summers, I'll be here at Notre Dame taking classes in education. And at the end, I'll earn my master's. It seems like a kind of like a sidestep to a lot of people, going to get a master's in education after already receiving 2 degrees at Notre Dame, like you're doing a 3rd one, like you could go work in engineering now. I mean, be very successful there. And that was definitely, I mean, those were definitely thoughts that came up as I was deciding on this path. But ultimately, I've just felt this, I don't know, this call to teaching, especially with those thoughts in my first internship on really enjoying the teaching aspect of my job, and then in the construction one, just being with people all the time and solving problems. And then also just, I think I've always had this inclination and want to teach and mentor. So through high school, I'd tutor, and then even here I'd TA a few classes. And then most recently, I think I've just felt this overwhelming desire to love, especially people who don't have that love in their life. I was blessed with a family that I mean, is just the most loving, and that's where I'm just blessed with that at home, and I know that not everyone has that, so I want to give that to people who don't necessarily have that at home. And finally, I mean, I don't know if I'm called to teaching forever, but it's a program where I get to explore my faith some more. I get to make a difference, hopefully, in some people's lives, have my own life touched by these kids. And yeah, who knows if I'll continue teaching, but I know it's a possibility, and we'll see where life takes me. So we get to give our, like, what we want to teach, but we won't necessarily get that. But I was lucky enough to get exactly what I wanted to teach, math and religion. And I know that's an interesting combination, but I am beyond excited about it, because I think it'll be really cool for the students, first of all, to just see that math, the STEM fields, are not at odds with theology. It's just like lots of theologians say, like, right, like faith and reason come together. And I think being able to teach those and show that so tangibly to the kids I'm teaching, I'm really excited about. And also just, I mean, it made sense being an engineering student and a theology student. I was interested and excited to teach both. I'd say that it's important to know that there's no absolute right way to do things. And your path may take you in a lot of different directions. But the most important thing is to figure out what you really want to do, and then what the world needs. And at that junction is God's call, is like your vocation, right? So I think really spending the time to discern that and pray about it, and I mean, you can find meaning in all kinds of work. Like, I mean, I personally didn't enjoy sitting behind a desk and designing things because I needed the human interaction, but there's so much meaning in that work because we need people to design all kinds of things that make people's lives easier. So just, yeah, finding out where you find meaning in life, and I'd just say, I mean, don't feel like pigeonholed by being an engineering student. I think one of the reasons I chose mechanical engineering and I chose engineering is because it is a platform for jumping off to so many different things. So you don't have to be an engineer if that's not where you feel like you're called, because there's just so many options in the world, and engineering education just sets you up for so much. And I mean, it teaches you to think and to problem solve, and that's what you need for. And it also helps you or teaches you to work really hard. So you can use that in all kinds of different aspects of life and different lines of work.